It's been a loaded show. I think we've covered almost every angle, but not the Carmen V angle. That's the most important.
Damn right.
Whatever her angle is on the Bears hire is most important.
Save the best for last.
That's right.
Hey, guys.
What's up?
How are you?
Great. We're so excited to have you, Carmen V. We can't wait to see you at the Super Bowl. I miss you. Bears After Dark has gone straight down the toilet. They give it to Braggs now, and he's ruined it. we had it going, but they took it away from us. That's okay. All right. 1 to 100.
Flattery will get you everywhere, guys. Please.
Thank you. 1 to 100, with 100 being shocked that the Bears landed Ben Johnson as quickly, getting him period, boiling that all together. How surprised are you that this coaching search ended when and with who for the Bears?
Honestly, the biggest thing that shocked me was like how it just like reduced me back to the fan that I grew up as of this franchise, and just being utterly and like in disbelief. I was just like, this is not something I've ever seen before. And oh my God, they actually did it. So if I have to assign a number to it, I'll go with 89. I was born in 89.
89.
Right.
You know, to that point, we got done with our show yesterday, and right around this time we were like getting ready to leave, and you could kind of start to feel some momentum building. Yeah, you know, and yeah. I was telling the guys, I'm like, we should probably make sure we're available just in case tonight. But it never occurred to me that they would actually, and at that point I knew he hadn't been in the building yet. So I'm like, I didn't think it was going to happen on my drive home because he hadn't been there yet. And to your point, Carmi, I just like, it's so unlike the Bears. Like, it just never occurred to me that they would hire a coach without the guy coming in the building first. Like, that's not how they do business. And so that's what was shocking to me. It wasn't that they landed him. It was just that it happened that fast.
And I think it's shocking from the other side of things, where Ben didn't come into the building either. But I have to remind myself, well, he was in Chicago a few weeks ago, and that was an extended interview for the ages. So I just think that as much as we know about Ben Johnson interviewing teams as much as they interview him, which I think is a good thing, and I think that's the responsible thing, for him to not step foot in the actual building and agree to do this, I have to think that meant that the Bears made him an offer they couldn't refuse. You know, like, it's one of those things where he couldn't say no. And again, that is the surprising aspect to me, is that the Bears were willing to commit however much money, which sounds like a lot of money, to Ben Johnson, and then also commit to seeing through his vision for what he's like, the staff that he's going to bring. If this all comes to fruition, that he's going to get Dennis Allen and guys that have head coaching experience to be his coordinators, that comes at a premium. So the spending is not done. And that's the biggest thing about all of this to me, is like the Bears seem willing to pony up, which I'm glad, because they haven't before.
Do you think that the Raiders and the Jags, and specifically the Raiders, was leverage play? Or do you think that was a legitimate threat to take Ben Johnson here from Chicago? Do you think that either one of those teams would have been willing to pay him more?
Well, I don't know how the Raiders could have, because what we know about their finances isn't good. I don't think either of them were really a huge competition for the Chicago Bears, because not only from the standpoint of, you know, how much are you going to pay Ben Johnson? Because look, I guess any team can surprise us, right? Clearly the Bears did. But outside of that, it's what is already in those places that you can work with. And I saw Diana Rossini report this earlier today, where the big selling point for Ben Johnson was Caleb. And yeah, you have Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, but he's on a big contract, so that limits you as far as what you can put around him. Trent Baalke is still there in the GM, and that hasn't gone well. He doesn't have a good track record there. But do you know enough as a first-time head coach to bring somebody else in, and to convince the Jags to bring somebody else in? And then the Raiders, you don't have a quarterback, and there's a whole lot over there that, you know, they're not willing to spend a whole lot of money either. I feel like the Bears was just a really good position for him to be in, and really gave him a lot as far as like what you get as a first-time head coach. And when a team fires a head coach, I mean, usually these situations aren't very good, but I think the Bears have some legitimate pieces, and clearly Caleb Williams is the headliner.
So let's take that just one step further. How far away, Carmen Vitali, how far away are they?
Guys, you know me and how much of a wet blanket I can be. But I promise you, it's born out of A, being in this industry and seeing every side of it for the last decade. B, growing up in Chicago and just needing to see things to believe it because this team has not earned the benefit of the doubt. I need you to go back to 2022 when Ben Johnson took over the offensive coordinator duties in Detroit. The Lions started 1-6. It wasn't good right away. And it took him 3 years to see this iteration of the Lions that we saw this past season. I think that's the case. And that was just with him dealing with the offense. Now you have to add in the head coach of everything, where he's going to be making every minute decision based on, how much the team dresses up for road trips versus what's being served in the team cafeteria versus how much analytics is involved in sports science and recovery. All of that stuff, he's going to have to get used to making those decisions and being accountable for those decisions. On top of, you can pry play calling out of his cold dead hands. He's not getting rid of that. We know he's going to be the offensive play caller, but he's going to have to, there's going to be a learning curve there. So I want there to be patience. And I want you to keep in mind that it took 3 years for the Detroit Lions offense to become what we saw this past season. It's not going to look super creative right away. And he's not going to throw in all these trick plays and this, that, and whatever. There's still some work to be done to this roster to get it to a point where they can execute his offense the way that he sees it.
And that's one of the
Doug Kramer touched red zone package will be shelved for a little bit. That's what I heard.
I don't know, man. He's got all kinds of. He threw a pass with Penei Sewell against the Bears.
Yes,
I might have Doug Kramer play quarterback.
Let's build out first.
They've had Penei Sewell throw a pass, catch a pass, or try to throw a pass, try to catch a pass. He's been a fullback. He's lined up at left tackle. Ben Johnson does so many fun things with the offensive line, but to that point, I don't think they have the dudes to execute it yet in Chicago.
They don't.
No, they don't. But so here's what I'm fascinated by is him, whatever he learned from Dan Campbell as a head coach and how that translates over, because nobody is Dan Campbell. So you're not just going to walk in the building and if you're going to try to be Dan Campbell, that's going to be disingenuous. It's not going to work because you got to be yourself. But that doesn't mean there can't still be some things that he picked up there, in terms of accountability, style of play, whatever it is. I don't know yet, but I just find that part of it, Carmi, to be fascinating because, again, you can't be Dan Campbell, but what did you learn from Dan Campbell that you can bring over to the Bears? Because a lot of what Dan Campbell brings to the Lions seems to be things the Bears need.
For sure. And that's my biggest question, too, because we haven't seen Ben Johnson in a head coaching capacity. We haven't seen Ben Johnson as the guy that needs to address the team when things aren't going well and to lay the foundation in the way that Dan Campbell was able to. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he can't or won't figure out how he can do it himself. From everybody I've talked to in Detroit, whether that's assistant coaches that are on the Lions staff with him or were on the Lions staff with him, or players or anything like that, they all tell me how intense Ben Johnson is and how fiery he is. I had one coach tell me that he's more of a pit bull than anybody realizes. And that's something that I think that players inherently respond to, whether or not it's a concerted effort to, bring everybody together and be that glue guy that Dan Campbell has been. Ben Johnson has different ways of rewarding his players, of making players want to play for him and follow him. A lot of that you see in the offense where he does do the really fun things. He gets to know his players very intimately to the point where, hey, if you're playing your old team, he's going to make sure that you have the ball in your hand somehow, even if you're an offensive lineman. He's the type of guy that will reward that, but he's going to coach you really hard, and he makes you really accountable for everything. I've heard that from players is he's a really intense guy. And he's going to yell at you. He's going to bite your head off during a game. But he's also going to reward you in some really, really fun ways. And that inherently should make people want to follow him. I don't know how that translates to the entire team. But I'm excited to see how he decides to take those lessons he learned from Dan Campbell and make them his own and become the leader that we haven't seen him be yet.
Well, we might have just gotten our first glimpse. Let's play this while Carmi's on with us. The Bears just put out this video of Ben Johnson coming in the room and greeting at least the staff that was there at ALLCITY. So this is courtesy of the Chicago Bears, and I see everybody in our comments here talking about it right now and asking us to play it. So Steven pulled it up. Here it is.
Exactly where we wanted to be. This is exactly where we wanted to be.
Where we want you.
This is going to be a challenge. I am well aware of that. I know what this division's about, and this is exactly where we want to be. We're going to go after this thing, and it's going to take all of us in this room. It's going to take this locker room. It's nothing more important than that locker room, and us serving that locker room and those players. All right? They need to understand that, and they need to feel that from us every single day. And if we do that, the wins are going to come. The playoffs are going to come. All right? Can't wait to get to know you guys, and thank you so much for the warm welcome. Thank you.
Wow. I got to admit, that put chills down my back a little bit there.
You there making the sandwiches. If you don't come correct for that locker room, I am going to be paying attention to you, too. I swear there was people jumping right back there.
That was great.
I better start doing my job better.
Like the meatball. I just almost fully formed into a meatball listening to that.
Serve the locker room.
That was exactly the kind of response I wanted to hear, but just the way he addressed it, too. Like, that was great.
All right, now go get back to work.
That was
right. It was just it just felt like he was ready for the moment.
Carmi, what'd you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, you see it. You see how intense that he can be. He can absolutely command a room. And again, just because he wasn't the one doing it in Detroit doesn't mean that he can't. And the players love playing for him, and that there's something to that. And I really, really love how he is like, the priority is that locker room. That's why we're all here. That's what we need to make sure that we are fostering, and we are doing everything with that locker room in mind. And you go to Detroit and everything is just football, football, football. It's so, everybody's like, people say it's like meathead, whatever, but I'm just like, that's what we're all here for. We're all here for football. And the more you pour into that, and the more resources you give them, then you're going to end up getting wins that way. So I loved that, honestly, and I appreciate that.
Let's just bask in that for a minute. But go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna say that was good. I don't want to downplay it at all, but
that was borderline great.
It was great. Well, I swear to God, I dare you to wet blanket.
No, I'm not.
I swear to God,
I'm not, because what caused me not to do that is I was trying to picture Matt Eberflus having the same moment, and it wasn't happening.
Or Matt Eberflus.
That was my thought. I was like,
you know what I mean?
So I'm not wet blanket. It's good.
Room.
Hey, let's just go back to the division for a second, because I'm curious Carmen's opinion on how much this hurts Detroit that he's not there. And B, this is a separate question, but I'm curious, what do you think happens in Minnesota with their quarterback situation?
Oh, wow. Loaded.
Well, we're coming up on the 2 o'clock hour here.
Yeah. All right. I'll get through this quickly. It hurts Detroit for sure, but I mean, Dan Campbell's depth of coaches is going to be tested, essentially. And I mean, Ben Johnson was there already when Dan Campbell took over, and he evaluated him, loved him, brought him up from the tight ends coach, the offensive coordinator. That all worked out. But the thing we're not talking about, I think, enough is that Detroit is going to lose both coordinators, but they're not just going to lose those coordinators. Those coordinators are going to bring guys with them. So we already seen Hank Fraley is potentially going to come with Ben Johnson, the offensive line coach. He can be the offensive coordinator with Ben Johnson calling plays. I adore that thought. And I think that's a foregone conclusion in Detroit, is that Hank is going to go with Ben. At least that's what people up there are expecting, according to what they've told me. But that trickles down throughout the staff. So you don't really know the damage that's going to be done until these staffs are finalized between both Ben and Aaron. leaving, that's going to be really hard to overcome. And honestly, Dan Campbell, again, the depth of his coaches roster is going to be tested. Outside of that, I'm so interested to see how this all like plays out with the division, because apparently when Ben Johnson accepted the job, he was still in the office in Detroit, and his coaches basically were rousing him the entire time and just being like, we can't wait to kick your ass. And like they have this already really fun rivalry with each other, and how that impacts the rest of the NFC North. I think with Minnesota, just to get to that real quick, they never really internally deviated from the plan of developing JJ McCarthy and having him take over. They believe in Kevin O'Connell. They believe in his ability as a coach and to develop players. And Sam Darnold, if you can keep him now, because he kind of fell off at the end of the season and maybe he's not going to have the starting market that you thought he was going to, maybe you can bring him back, as another bridge to be the high-end backup behind JJ McCarthy. Or is that guy Daniel Jones, and you let Sam Darnold go out and maybe sign, if he has the opportunity to sign like a Baker Mayfield type contract. That's going to be interesting, but I don't think in the grand scheme of things much has changed for Minnesota. I think the only way it would have is if Sam Darnold led them to a Super Bowl, which it is.
Man, that rocket ship was taking off. And then,
I mean, as a Bears fan, Carmi, and a national platform, you have a responsibility to spread misinformation about Kevin O'Connell and how he put out that he might be traded and there's turmoil and that the Lions are breaking apart. These are the things you're supposed to do with your platform. If not, then what's the point?
The point is I have to go into those locker rooms and talk to those coaches, and I believe in them too. My job is to do it and say what I believe, and I believe in all of those guys. I believe that the trade market for Kevin O'Connell was nothing more than a leverage play with a new contract coming down the pipe for him. Minnesota knows they would be crazy to let him go, and he doesn't want to go anywhere.
Well, that was one of the funniest stories of the whole year. Just laughed at it. Like, okay, we all know what this is. Carmi, thank you so much. Sorry about Greg.
Well, I mean, it's fine. I've been going to my mailbox every day waiting for the big wedding invitation. I'm excited for you.
Cole Kmet is not inviting you to his wedding. Just get over it.
I have done. You know how busy this season has been? You want to try planning a wedding on top of all of this? Well, I have done nothing.
No, it's fine. And congratulations again. And, we're happy for you. And, if you and Cole don't invite me to your prospective wedding, so be it, but.
Respective.
I just, you know what?
You got it outside.
Grammar nerds only at my wedding, apparently.
Carmi, you got. I was gonna say goodbye. We got super chats and.
Yeah, no, I guess we got to go. Well, you will be in New Orleans, I take it, right?
I will be in New Orleans. I'll see you guys tomorrow, or I'll see Hogue tomorrow. I don't know if you're gonna be there, Carm, at the presser.
Press conference tomorrow.
Carm's not gonna be there. His badge doesn't work.
I don't know if mine still does, so we're gonna see.
You guys are invited. Awesome. I'm in control of who's in.
I'll see you in New Orleans. Let's
go.
Thank you,
Thanks
Carmen.
For making time. You're the best. We appreciate you.
Bye, guys.
We all silly like the mayor.